when Ryan Day was hanging out with the Big Ten Network guys, they were just hammering him on the defensive side of the ball, which maybe I just have it stuck in my head from some of the conversations we've had here and seeing this elsewhere, but mostly from here, that it always runs through my mind when Ryan Day is addressing the defense, his engagement, his involvement, and I'm not discarding that. I'm just saying I question that and I process that and I really listen more intently for his answers on the defensive side of the ball. And that's really where they hit him up. The one thing that comes to mind is him talking about the selection of Jim Knowles and saying, we didn't necessarily want to go for the hotshot coach that was going to be passing by for a year or two and headed off. And he cited Jeff Hafley. But we wanted a guy that we really believed was going to be here for the long term and really wanted to make Columbus a destination.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's talking about Manny Diaz going to Penn State. And under normal circumstances, that would be the talk of the conference. And I don't think I heard anybody, granted, I didn't spend a lot of time talking to Penn State people in Indianapolis, but nobody was talking about that. I mean, Jim Knowles is somebody who, he's had head coaching time. He's been able to do a lot of different things. And I don't see him being somebody who goes the Jeff Hafley route, fixes it in a year, and then is off to his next venture. I mean, he's certainly being compensated very well, just shy of $2 million. And it's not, I mean, when he went to Oklahoma State, it was not, an immediate fix. It wasn't like year one, suddenly they went from being not very good to being top 10, top 15, top 20. It took several years. But at Ohio State, he's going to have a different caliber of player to work with, and that's no disrespect to what was going on at Oklahoma State. It's just the reality of what Ohio State's going to be able to recruit versus what Oklahoma State's going to be able to recruit. And it'll be interesting to just to see how quickly these changes are. But Ronnie Hickman was very complimentary of everything that is going on. I mean, they've been able to come in and bring in several support guys that were part of the system, whether it was at Duke or whether it was at Oklahoma State. And, Ryan Day said, up at the podium, I expect this to be a top 10 defense. So that's the expectations. I mean, I expect to win Mega Millions, and then somebody else can fill in for me on this show if I win $1 billion. I may do an occasional show from an island retreat somewhere, not to be named, but, the expectations are there. This is not just a matter of, we just want to get incrementally better. No, they want to be the best at everything that they do.
Yeah, something else I wrote a little bit about this yesterday with this the defensive struggles. From 2018 to 2020, Ohio State signed 35 defensive players. None of them have been all Big Ten players. Only 4 of them have done as much as be second team all Big Ten. And 3 of those are on the defensive line: Zach Harrison, Tyreek Smith, and Tommy Togiai. The 4th is Ronnie Hickman last year. That's a lot of striking out and recruiting. That's a lot of non-development. That's a lot of injuries that have cost some of those guys entire seasons and multiple seasons. And a lot of those guys from like 2018 class are now to the point this year where they're healthy. This is their last chance. So they can change that all Big Ten status that they've been missing out on, but that's a long stretch to go with recruiting that poor, that the development that poor, where so many things have gone wrong defensively. And when that many things go wrong defensively, you end up losing your coaches. I think they bounced back with last year's class. See if they bounce back with this year's class and try to catch up with next year's class.
Yeah, I think in some regards, this will be a transitional season for the defense as Coach Knowles tries to get his scheme established. And at the same time, you don't have time to have a transitional season with the defense. You need it to be a great season for the defense. And I think it'll be much improved. One, because most of the guys are back and they'll be a year older, bigger, stronger, smarter, faster. So that's good. But 2, I think the scheme's going to make a lot more sense and is going to fit the opponent, and it's going to fit the personnel much better than it did last year. So really it kind of comes down to this, and I harp on this every week. if you get good play out of your defensive line to set the tone for the rest of the defense, it'll all fall into place. They just haven't had that the last 2 years, really, from top to bottom and side to side. So they need to get back to that this season.
Yakov 22, Kevin and Tony are transformational, not transactional. I like what you did there, Yakov. Very nice.
We can be both.